So of course it's September, and that means many students across the country are headed back to school, which means that new school supplies like backpacks and devices like tablets and phones are being given to these students. So what you may not know is that an ill-fitting or heavy backpack can do serious damage to a child's joints and back. And gazing down at phones or tablets can cause something we call tech neck, or a pain that can plague a gadget user's neck and upper back. So there's a lot of ground to cover here, but Dr. Steve, let's begin with backpacks. Are there backpack styles out there that are better and safer than others?
Yeah, there's a lot of different backpacks that are out there available for kids these days. They range anywhere from like one strap kind of side bag things to more popular bags with two straps on it. And there's even some kind of luggage roller bags that you'll see kids have nowadays as well. But by far the most popular is probably the old standby two-strap backpack.
So which ones are better and safer than others?
By far the best one is actually the one with two straps. You might actually see a couple. This one has a few additional ones that are on the chest that can clip. Some might have some that go around the hips as well. But this is by far the safest one to buy for your kids.
So kids usually have a lot of books and supplies to take to school, especially near the beginning of the school year. How do you know how much weight is right for your student to carry?
So the rule of thumb for this is to not exceed more than 10% of your child's body weight of the amount of stuff and gear that you put into their backpack. So if we do some simple math, you'll take a 100-pound kid. You don't want to have more than 10 pounds loaded into their backpack at any given time. If you think about smaller kids who are maybe first, second grade, they might be around 50 pounds. So that's half as much, 5 pounds. You get to that surprisingly quickly with just a few books and pens, pencils, and some cell phones or tablets like you mentioned. So you just really need to be aware of that.
So is there a correct way to actually pack the backpack?
Yeah, the best way to pack a backpack is to put all the heaviest things nearest the back. So if you think about it like holding a bowling ball, for example, it's much more difficult to hold a bowling ball away from your body than it is to hold it closer to your body. So all the heaviest stuff should be closest to the back, so it's best supported. All the lighter things can go into the pockets as you move up from there. Use the pockets, that's why there's a couple of them. That'll help spread the load as well.
So sometimes you see kids in hallways with just one strap of a two-strap backpack on their back, or maybe dragging their bags through the hallways. What's the best way to carry it?
So again, if you have the two-strap backpack, obviously use both to help distribute the weight evenly. Occasionally, you might get a hand-me-down, or you've already made a purchase for the year, and backpacks are really expensive, so you don't want to switch up. With these, you'll want to wear it across your body, not off of just one shoulder. It'll tend to pull one down. And then with the roller bags, you'll typically see them dragging it through the hall behind them. What you want to encourage them to do is hold it closer to their body and wheel it down the hallway. But again, by far the best option is two straps.
Sure. So what about the importance of where a backpack should sit on a child's back? You know, sometimes we see younger kids with just enormous backpacks on their backs. You know, where should it sit so that, you know, the weight is distributed evenly and all of that?
Yeah, so the usual guidelines for this is about 2 inches below the waist of your student. So look at where their waistband is. Don't have it sagging. You don't want to have a lot of open space between the back and the backpack. So it should lie really just flat and flush with your child's back.
And I assume that the adjustable straps will help with that.
Yeah, make sure to use those. Sometimes you'll see backpacks sagging really far down off the back. There might be a hole coming off of the shoulders. That's a really ill-fitting backpack. Obviously make sure it's adjusted evenly on both sides for your child, so you don't have one off more than the other one. And that's really the best way to use a backpack like this.
So you mentioned that, you know, sometimes when you have multiple kids, you have hand-me-down backpacks. Some parents may give their younger children, their older siblings, backpacks, but that may mean that the backpack is too big for the younger child. Does this contribute to the problem?
Yeah, it can. What some people will do with bigger backpacks is they feel the need to then fill the backpack, and so it can weigh quite a bit more than if you just use a smaller backpack. Also, you give them more room to use larger straps so that they can really undo them. They're going to play with them more than likely. So you don't want to go to some outlet equipment store and buy like a hiking backpack for your kids. Make sure you just stand with the old trustworthy standby. Go with what's in your local stores. That's your best bet.
So we've talked about a few things here, like fit, weight, size, all of that. When you think about all of those things, what is the order of things that parents should be most concerned about, maybe to least concerned about?
It's not really any one thing being more important than the other. They're all really very equal between what we've already talked about, between fit and the weight of the backpack. They're both equally important, and if you can keep an eye on your child's backpack in just those two regards, you're going to be doing really well. So it's hard to pick just one that's more important than the other.
Sure. So what kind of long-term problems can come from carrying a backpack that doesn't fit or is too heavy?
That's a great question, one we hear quite a bit in our clinics, and really it's the same kind of things that you'd experience if you overdo it in maybe a job where you sit a lot, or you sit poorly, or you have bad posture throughout the day. Over time, you're going to have maybe some soreness, some achiness just waking up in the morning, but that might then progress on to more constant pain, to more sharp pain over time. So really that's what you could expect from poor fitting or heavier backpacks.
Are there, I know you mentioned a couple, but are there any other symptoms that parents can watch out for that might trigger that?
Yeah,
oh, it's the backpack.
So we talked about pain. That's really your most common one: pain, ache, soreness. Some of the least common ones, you might actually start to get tingling in your arms or hands. There's a lot of nerves and blood vessels that run around your shoulders. So if you're really wearing heavy backpacks or it's poorly fitted, you might have some tingling and numbness even. So really make sure to look out for those things.
Great. And it looks like we have a question. Oh, no, we don't have a question. We just wanted to say hello to David and Blanca. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy you're here. We have talked about some of the symptoms and pain and things that you watch out for. And this is something that I remember hearing as a kid. Can backpacks or ill-fitting backpacks cause scoliosis?
There's not a lot of good or definite research to link poor fitting or heavier backpacks to developing a scoliosis. But using common sense, you can start to see how it could contribute to it or make it worse if your child already has scoliosis. So scoliosis is actually a really common thing that children can have. It's just a curvature of the spine from side to side. They can range from mild to moderate to severe, like anything else. If your child has that, you really want to be aware of the kind of backpacks that you have and how much they're carrying. So back to what we talked about previously, make sure it fits them well, it's distributed evenly the weight is, and that you're not overloading your backpack.
So other than carrying a backpack correctly, are there stretches kids can do to help alleviate any pain that might be associated with carrying a lot of weight?
Yeah, so usually with backpacks, what you'll typically see is if it's heavy or ill-fitting, they start to round their shoulders a lot to kind of bring it forward. If they're using a one-strap bag, they might have more tightness on one side of their neck than the other. Some really good stretches is just to kind of work through the chest area. They can work on just opening up their chest. They can lean through a door frame. They can put their hand on a desk to stretch out through the front here. If they have a one-strap backpack, they might feel tightness on the side of their neck to their shoulder. So just make sure to stretch that out going side to side. That'll help loosen it up for them.
And can a chiropractic adjustment help with this kind of pain as well?
Yeah, we do see this. I mean, that's obviously why we're talking about it today. It is a thing that happens to kids. They get pain because of this. So chiropractic can help. Just make sure to have that conversation with your chiropractor when you go visit them.
Okay, so what is the best way to carry other kinds of backpacks? We've talked about the single strap. I mean, is it that the roller bag is just the best option to avoid backpack pain completely?
You know, roller bags have, I'm not trying to throw roller bags under the bus here, but they've got issues as well. Kids tend to drag them behind, they get kicked going down the hallways, it can pull on their shoulder a little bit. For adults, it's like when you travel. If you travel a lot and you carry heavy luggage, you feel some of the aches and pains of that. Now do that every day over an entire school day. And that's maybe what you're asking your kids to do with these roller bags. So, you know, I feel like a broken record, but by far the best backpack is to have two straps. Always have your kid wear two straps. Sometimes they'll only wear one. but remind them to put on both straps.
So moving on to what we had talked about earlier, we're sending these kids back to school where technology is often a major player in the curriculum of schools. So with, maybe your tablet that your kid has, or you just gave your middle schooler or high schooler a phone, what kinds of dangers can using this kind of technology pose?
Yeah, so what we're starting to see more often, we call it tech snack or tech neck. There's a lot of different terms that are coming out for this, and we're seeing it more and more frequently as the use of devices picks up. Really what these devices do is it really encourages poor posture with kids and school-aged children. So you'll often see them looking down quite a bit, hunched over in their chair maybe, but really it encourages just a terrible sitting posture that can cause strain on their neck and their back. It can lead to aches, pains, tingling, numbness, all the fun things that we've already talked about. And they're starting to suggest that it might also lead to early degeneration, so arthritis. We haven't had these devices for a long time. Really, our generation is kind of the first that got them maybe in our teens, early 20s, and they're starting to see that we're losing the curvature of our spine that can lead to arthritic changes.
So you talked about the health effects that these can cause, but how do we help our kids avoid this kind of ill posture?
I think it's going back to what your grandparents always said. It's just reminding your kids to sit up straight constantly. You see them slouching or hunched over, just make sure to sit them up as much as possible. It's always weird to use a phone not like this, especially when you're out in public. If you hold it up, everyone thinks you're taking pictures of everything because that's kind of that posture.
Yeah.
But really encourage them to hold their cell phone up as much as possible so that their head is looking straight ahead rather than down. If they do this a lot, you might start to hear them complain about headaches and things like that. That's kind of your cue to start watching and reminding them a little bit more.
Can limiting their time on these devices help?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've got a 7 and a 3-year-old. There are times where they're on a tablet for maybe 30 minutes, just because that's where we're at in life. That's probably too long at that point. So you really want to 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe at most, and then get them to take a break, move around a little bit, get out of that terrible posture. That'll help them out.
That might be also a tip for teachers who are using it in their classroom.
It's anybody. We all do it. We've got some of our marketing crew here behind the scenes, and their posture is terrible as they use their devices. So it's everybody regardless of age, but it's really important for kids. You want to start them off on the right path with their spinal health.
Okay. So are the symptoms the same as with backpack issues? I mean, is it kind of the same?
Yeah, same stuff. You can get headaches, soreness, achiness, numbness. So really very similar things to wearing a backpack. Again, it's just repetitive bad posture that leads to these similar symptoms.
Great. It looks like we have a question from our viewers. At what age should parents consider chiropractic?
So I'm biased. I'm a chiropractor, but I think chiropractic should be considered from the moment of birth. Actually, both of my boys were adjusted as soon as they were born. I had the luxury of being able to adjust them in the hospital. But if you start to see symptoms with your kids, especially if they're older and they can verbalize aches, pains, soreness, headaches, you should definitely consider chiropractic for your kids. Bring them in, have that conversation minimally with your chiropractor to see if they can help out. But even babies who can't necessarily always talk about what they're feeling or verbalize it, you'll have babies with colic or reflux or constant earaches. So, if you have that, again, get to a chiropractic clinic, talk to a chiropractor, see if it's an option to help your kid out.
And just so you know, we are planning an episode that will just be completely on adjusting babies and young children. So make sure to watch this channel for that. And we often see whole families come into the joint together, from kids to adults get adjusted. So it's a pretty normal thing around here.
Yeah, everybody has a spine, I think, for the most part. So to a chiropractor.
So back to Technic, are the stretches that kids and adults can do to avoid this? Because like you said, adults get this too. Are they the same as the backpack ones?
Same as the backpack, and that's conveniently why we lump the topics together. But what they all do is just encourage, it's called forward head posture, where your head goes forward, your shoulders roll forward, and you really want to just start to open that up. using a door frame, a chair, whatever you can to just stretch through your chest. You know, if you're an adult or an older child, you can actually start to strengthen your back by doing rowing exercises with resistance bands. But again, you know, make sure you talk to your doctor to understand what they recommend for either stretching or exercises so that they can really tailor that care to you.
That's great. So that's about all the time we have for questions. Thank you to all who participated, and Dr. Steve for his expertise. Make sure to follow The Joint on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Joint Chiro so that you will be the first to know about that episode we talked about with kids, along with many other topics for future editions of Live Well Live. Thank you so much.